Ever seen someone unravel in real time? The room smells faintly of burnt coffee and old paper. Fluorescent lights buzz like a nervous heartbeat. Trump sits at the head of the table, the weight of the media storm pressing like humidity against the walls. And what happens next feels inevitable. Here's the thing, you notice it the moment he enters. A subtle twitch at the corner of his eye, the half-smile that doesn't quite reach. Do you see it? The tension is almost tactile, pressing into your shoulders, making your chest tight. Staff shuffled papers, avoided eye contact. Whispers ricocheted off the walls. The metallic tang of tension lingers. Every glance at a phone screen feels like a decision being weighed in real time. And this is where most people miss the danger. Emails unsent, folders teetering on the edge of tables, charts misread. Every microdecision matters. Every hesitation is amplified. You feel it in your gut. Fluorescent lights flicker like a countdown. And here's where it gets messy. Hegseth's statements are under fire, the social media avalanche unrelenting. Momentum is fragile. Perception is currency. Notice the micropauses. Each silence stretches longer than the last. The more Trump tries to command, the faster the room slips from his control. Ambition can be beautiful, until it blinds you. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. A folder slid from the edge of the podium, nobody reached for it. Tiny misstep, yet somehow it mattered. Heartbeat races, air tastes metallic, tension presses against your chest. Paradoxically, the more you try to steer, the faster reality asserts itself. Next layer reveals the microdecisions that seal a career. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The chatter outside the conference room door is muffled but persistent. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, a thin, constant reminder of the day stretching too long. You can feel the air tighten as aides shift weight from one foot to the other, papers clutched like lifelines. A subtle metallic tang lingers, coffee spilled earlier, maybe, or just the residue of tension. Trump's phone buzzes on the table. No one dares to reach for it. A missed call from an ally. A text from the press. Every glance, every half-smile, is dissected by those watching. Body language becomes a weapon, and hesitation is ammunition. Hegseth clears his throat. The sound cracks through the room like a whip. Listen, he begins, and then pauses, eyes darting to the corner. A folder slides from the edge of the podium, barely noticeable, but you feel it. Momentum punishes hesitation. Outside, the world spins on social media outrage, but inside, the unraveling is quiet, almost imperceptible. A whispered rumor ricochets, catching in the throat of the nearest aide. Each microdecision compounds. Do you correct it? Do you ignore it? Or do you pretend nothing happened and hope the storm passes? You feel it in your gut, the room, the power, the fragility of both. Trump leans back, fingers steepled, eyes scanning faces. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. Ambition can blind, charisma can mislead, and in this room, every pause stretches longer, every breath feels heavier. And then, a question is tossed, light as a paper plane but heavy as a stone. Are we really ready for what comes next? The room freezes. You hear the tick of the clock like gunfire. Every decision now has a cost, every silence a consequence. Somebody clears their throat. A pen clicks. Papers shuffle. And this is where it gets messy, the small errors, the whispered doubts, the microdecisions, ignored emails, missed calls, hesitant glances, are already shaping the narrative. The room feels smaller, heavier. You can almost taste the anxiety, sharp and metallic. Next layer awaits, and it will expose the missteps that cannot be unseen. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Every observer becomes complicit, every moment a choice. The door clicks shut behind a late arrival. A junior aide steps in, face pale, hands trembling slightly. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, louder now, or maybe your nerves are amplifying them. You feel it in your chest, a pressure, a subtle vibration, like the room itself is holding its breath. Trump swivels slightly in his chair, eyes narrowing. "Did you see the coverage?" he asks, voice casual but sharp, slicing through the buzz of murmurs. A phone slides across the table, unsent emails, drafted but never hit send, awaiting approval. Every micro-decision here feels monumental. Hegseth fidgets, thumb tracing the edge of a folder. The metallic tang of tension is thicker now, mingled with faint coffee and the scent of fear. "You think they'll," he begins, pauses mid-sentence. The silence stretches. Too long. Too short. Every heartbeat is amplified, the fluorescent hum is a drumbeat counting down. Outside, the storm rages online. Hashtags, clips, hot takes. But inside, reality moves slower, like molasses. Staff shuffle papers, avoid eye contact. Rumors ricochet. Every glance, every cough, every slight pause sends ripples. You notice it, the way one missed glance can shift a room's momentum. A folder slides from the edge of the table. No one reaches for it. Tiny, invisible misstep. And yet, it matters. Every small hesitation compounds into something larger. Momentum punishes hesitation. Control is an illusion. Trump leans forward, voice lowering. "We have to manage this, now." The metallic tang sharpens, sweat prickles on your neck. Micro-decisions become urgent: correct a misstatement. Delete a tweet. Speak up or stay silent. And paradoxically, the more they try to command, the faster the room seems to slip from their grasp. Hegseth clears his throat again, sharper this time. A pen clicks. Papers shuffle. The tension tightens. And this is where the unseen danger hides, in the small pauses, the unsent emails, the whispered doubts. The room feels like it's leaning forward, waiting, ready to tip. Next layer is coming: decisions, errors, missteps, all converging into a point of no return. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room vibrates with a new intensity. Phones buzz relentlessly, notifications flashing like warning lights. You can almost feel the outside world pressing through the walls, a weight that's both invisible and suffocating. Fluorescent lights flicker, casting uneven shadows across anxious faces. Trump leans back, a smirk that doesn't reach his eyes. "Did anyone see the coverage?" he asks, and it isn't really a question. Hegseth clears his throat, glances down at his notes, unsent emails, bullet points never delivered, drafts waiting for approval. Every micro-decision has become a potential landmine. Whispers ricochet off the walls, barely audible but impossible to ignore. Staff shuffle papers nervously, someone coughs, then stops, the sound cutting like a knife. The metallic tang of tension is thick, almost tasting of burnt coffee and fear. You feel it in your gut, a low hum of anxiety that threatens to pull the room into chaos. A misread chart slides across the table unnoticed. An ally clears their throat, pausing mid-sentence, weighing words that could either stabilize or ignite the room. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance compounds, every pause is amplified. Paradoxically, the more they try to command, the faster reality asserts itself. Trump's eyes scan the room like a predator marking territory. "Are we handling this correctly?" he asks, voice deceptively calm, but the underlying tension is electric. Hegseth's hand twitches over the folder, papers crinkling, unsent tweets hovering in limbo. The room leans forward, collective breath held. Micro-decisions now dictate outcomes that could spiral beyond control. Outside, the storm intensifies. Social media clips, pundits, breaking headlines. Inside, every micro-movement carries weight: a pen dropped, a phone left unanswered, a glance that doesn't meet expectation. Tiny errors, ignored for the moment, accumulate into something unstoppable. The room feels smaller, heavier, every step forward feels like walking a tightrope over an abyss. And then, almost imperceptibly, the first crack appears. A whispered disagreement. A hesitation too long. A pause that becomes an echo. You notice it, the small moments, the subtle fractures, the decisions that will shape the fallout. Next layer exposes the choices that can't be undone. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The first headlines hit. Phones buzz with an almost violent insistence, notifications flashing red across screens. Outside, the world is erupting. Inside, the room feels suspended, like the calm before a hurricane. Fluorescent lights flicker, shadows stretching and shrinking across faces taut with anxiety. Trump leans forward, fingers steepled, eyes scanning the room. Do they really understand what's happening? His voice is deceptively calm, but the edge is unmistakable. Hegseth swallows, thumb tracing the folder edge. Unsigned statements. Drafts never sent. Every micro-decision here, every pause, every glance, could tip the balance. A staffer clears their throat, barely audible. A phone vibrates, the screen shows a trending clip, a snippet of Hegseth's earlier comments. The metallic tang of tension thickens. You feel it in your chest, pressing against your ribs, making the room feel too small. An email goes unsent. A chart misread. A whispered correction ignored. Each microdecision compounds. Momentum punishes hesitation. The paradox is inescapable, the more control they try to assert, the faster the room slips toward chaos. Trump shifts in his chair, eyes narrowing. This isn't just internal, it's public. And they're not waiting. Hegseth fidgets, notes clutched, trying to gauge tone, timing, impact. The hum of fluorescent lights becomes louder, almost like a countdown. Every second stretches, thickens, becomes critical. Outside, tweets ignite, pundits dissect, the storm grows. Inside, micro-movements dictate survival, a hand lingering over a phone, a folder sliding unnoticed across the table, a glance unreturned. Small missteps, invisible to casual observers, now carry consequences heavy as boulders. And then a pause, a heartbeat, maybe two, where no one speaks. The room is taut with anticipation. You notice it, the tension, the small fractures, the subtle choices that will decide who survives the narrative and who doesn't. Next layer, decisions and errors that can't be undone, cascading in real time. The first video clip surfaces online. The room reacts before anyone speaks. Phones vibrate in rapid succession, screens lighting up anxious faces. Fluorescent lights buzz, sharper now, as if echoing the tension that coils in the air. You feel it in your gut, a pressure that makes your chest tighten, every inhale shallow. Trump leans back, eyes scanning, fingers drumming on the table. They're spinning it, he says, voice calm but clipped, each word precise, weighted. Hegseth shifts in his seat, notes trembling slightly in his hand. Drafts unsent, statements never cleared, every small hesitation now a potential landmine. A subtle sound, a chair scraping, a pen clicking, seems louder than normal. The metallic tang of anxiety fills the air. Staff glance at each other, reluctant to speak, aware that one misstep could be magnified endlessly. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every microdecision compounds. Every glance, every pause, now carries disproportionate weight. Hegseth clears his throat. I thought the messaging was aligned. The words hang, brittle, over the table. A folder teeters on the edge. No one moves to catch it. Tiny, almost imperceptible misstep. Yet somehow, it matters. The paradox is palpable, the harder they try to control the narrative, the faster reality asserts itself. Outside, the social media storm grows exponentially. Clips, screenshots, hot takes, reaching millions in minutes. Inside, staff shuffle papers, mutter under their breath, check phones obsessively. Small decisions, replying to a text, ignoring a whisper, hesitating before a correction, now dictate outcomes far beyond the room. Trump leans forward, voice lower. We need to contain this. Now. Hegseth swallows. A microdecision, speak immediately, or pause and analyze. The room is taut with tension. Every breath, every heartbeat, feels amplified. The fluorescent lights flicker, shadows stretching across anxious faces, a silent countdown in every pulse. And then it happens, a slip, almost invisible, but catastrophic in its consequences. A whispered contradiction. A delayed response. A glance missed. The room tilts subtly, imperceptibly, and yet the cascade has begun. Next layer, missteps multiplying, decisions colliding with perception, momentum shifting irreversibly. The first on-air critique lands like a hammer. Screens flicker with headlines, Hegseth under fire, Trump meeting sparks controversy, snippets looping endlessly. Phones buzz violently. Notifications cascade like falling dominoes. You feel it in your chest, the pressure, the metallic tang of tension, thick enough to taste. Trump leans forward, eyes narrowing. Fingers tap on the table, a rapid staccato that punctuates the room's silence. They're spinning it worse than we imagined, he mutters, almost to himself. Hegseth fidgets, notes clutched in trembling hands. Drafts remain unsent. Corrections unmade. Every pause now feels like a misstep waiting to happen. The hum of fluorescent lights grows oppressive, buzzing in rhythm with racing hearts. A chair scrapes, a pen clicks. Staff exchange wary glances. Every small action, unsent emails, a glance ignored, a whispered rumor, carries outsized consequences. Momentum punishes hesitation. Microdecisions become critical, speak now or wait. Ignore the criticism or counter. Trump's gaze sweeps the room. We need alignment. Immediately. Hegseth hesitates. The paradox is unbearable, act too quickly, and you risk miscommunication, act too slowly, and the narrative slips from control. A folder tilts at the edge of the podium, almost falling. No one reaches for it. Tiny error, monumental in context. Outside, the storm intensifies. Clips go viral. Pundits dissect every word. Social media magnifies each hesitation. Inside, every breath feels heavy, the room thick with anxiety. You notice it, the way small fractures ripple through the group, amplifying tension. Microdecisions now dictate public perception, and perception is reality. Hegseth finally speaks, words careful, calculated. But it's too late, momentum has shifted. The room feels smaller, the air heavier, the countdown invisible but unmistakable. And this is where the unraveling accelerates. Every misstep compounds. Every hesitation matters. Next layer, cascading consequences, internal errors triggering external fallout, loyalty tested, narratives colliding, microdecisions sealing outcomes. The TV flickers to life. Hegseth's face fills the screen, eyes tight, jaw clenched. A host leans forward, voice sharp, explain your comments from yesterday. The public deserves clarity. You feel it before he even responds, a wave of pressure, metallic in the air, like static before a storm. Inside the room, silence reigns. Phones buzz incessantly, emails unsent, notes crumpled. Trump leans back, hands clasped, expression unreadable. Every microdecision is amplified in this moment, intervene, correct, wait, or watch the narrative spiral. Hegseth swallows. He clears his throat. The words come slowly, calculated, but already dissected in real time by millions. Fluorescent lights hum, a nervous staccato echoing the heartbeat in the room. A folder teeters on the edge of the table, unsent talking points, memos never cleared. Nobody reaches for it. Tiny errors, almost imperceptible, now magnified by scrutiny. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Trump's eyes sweep the room. This isn't just commentary. It's perception, it's optics, it's everything. Hegseth's hand hovers over a draft statement. One word, one sentence, could either calm the storm or ignite it further. The paradox is unbearable: the more you try to control, the faster reality asserts itself. Outside, the storm rages. Social media clips explode, pundits dissect, journalists tweet hot takes. Inside, the room thickens with tension. Staff shuffle papers, glance at screens, hesitate mid-motion. Microdecisions now dictate how the world sees them. The metallic tang of anxiety is sharp in your throat, every inhale shallow. Hegseth finishes the segment. The room exhales, collectively, but only for a moment. Tiny missteps, subtle pauses, unsent emails, they ripple outward. The narrative begins to twist beyond control. Next layer, internal cracks meet public scrutiny, alliances tested, perception shaping reality. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The TV goes dark. The silence that follows is almost deafening. Fluorescent lights hum, shadows stretching long across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, a pressure, metallic, heavy, like the air itself is holding its breath. Trump leans forward, elbows on the table, eyes sharp, scanning. They didn't take it well, he mutters, voice low but carrying through the room. Hegseth swallows hard, thumb brushing the edge of a folder that teeters on the table. Drafts unsent. Talking points unapproved. Microdecisions now define survival. A staffer shifts in their chair, papers rustling. A phone vibrates, another notification, another clip from the segment, another wave of online scrutiny. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every unsent message compounds the pressure. Hegseth clears his throat. I thought it was aligned. The words falter, cut short by a sudden realization: the narrative is no longer theirs to control. The metallic tang of tension thickens in the air. Every breath feels heavy, every heartbeat amplified. Trump leans back, steepling his fingers. We need to manage this. Now. Every second counts. Hegseth's eyes flick to a phone, hovering over a draft response. Speak now, or wait. Correct, or ignore. The paradox is cruel: act too quickly, risk misstep; act too slowly, risk losing control entirely. A folder slides slightly, unsent talking points, but no one reaches for it. Tiny missteps, invisible to casual observers, now carry monumental consequences. Inside, staff whisper, shuffle papers, hesitate mid-motion. Every microdecision now dictates both perception and reality. Outside, the social media storm escalates. Headlines compound, clips replayed, pundits dissect every word. Inside, the room feels smaller, heavier. Microdecisions ripple outward, shaping outcomes far beyond the walls. And this is where the unraveling accelerates: the internal cracks collide with public pressure, momentum punishing every hesitation. Next layer, alliances fracture, loyalty tested, perception shaping every move. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room feels smaller than ever. Fluorescent lights buzz like a nervous heartbeat, shadows crawling across faces taut with anxiety. You feel it in your chest, a low, metallic pressure that makes every breath deliberate, every movement weighted. Trump leans forward, fingers steepled, eyes scanning the room like a predator sizing up prey. They're not on the same page, he mutters. The words hang in the air, sharp and undeniable. Hegseth shifts uncomfortably, thumb tracing the edge of a folder that teeters precariously. Unsigned statements, unsent emails, and half-drafted responses litter the table. Microdecisions now dictate survival. A staffer exhales too loudly. Another shifts in their seat, papers rustling. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every whispered word compounds the pressure. Alliances begin to strain. Subtle glances exchanged, hesitant nods, tiny disagreements, all magnified under scrutiny. Trump's gaze fixes on Hegseth. We need clarity. Immediately. No room for hesitation. Hegseth swallows. His hand hovers over the phone. Should he respond now, or wait? Correct, or ignore? The paradox is brutal: act too quickly, risk misstep; act too slowly, lose control entirely. The metallic tang of tension thickens. The room feels almost suffocating. A folder slides slightly, unsent talking points, but no one reaches for it. Tiny errors now carry monumental consequences. Outside, social media rages, pundits dissect every nuance, clips loop endlessly. Inside, microdecisions dictate both perception and reality. A whispered disagreement erupts between staffers. Not loud, not dramatic, but sharp enough to fracture alignment. Trump leans back, expression unreadable. Momentum is unforgiving, hesitation now becomes a liability. Every microdecision, every subtle pause, every glance compounds into something unstoppable. Next layer: loyalty tested, perception twisting, fractures growing into cracks that threaten to split the room entirely. The room vibrates with tension. Fluorescent lights hum, shadows stretching unnaturally across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic weight, heavy, unrelenting, pressing down with every heartbeat. Trump leans forward, elbows on the table, eyes scanning like a hawk. They're circling. We can't wait. His words slice through the thick air, precise, deliberate, impossible to ignore. Hegseth shifts, hand hovering over a phone. Drafts unsent. Statements unapproved. Microdecisions now define whether the room survives or fractures entirely. A staffer coughs, another shuffles papers. Small, subtle movements magnified in the charged atmosphere. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance carries consequence. Inside, alliances strain. Whispered doubts, subtle glances, tiny disagreements, they escalate into visible fractures under the pressure. Trump's gaze lingers on Hegseth. You handle this wrong, even slightly, and the narrative is gone. The paradox is unbearable: act too quickly, risk error; act too slowly, risk losing control completely. The metallic tang of tension thickens, palpable, almost tasting of anxiety itself. A folder teeters on the edge of the table. Nobody moves. Tiny missteps, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Outside, the storm grows. Clips go viral, pundits dissect every nuance, social media explodes. Inside, microdecisions ripple outward, dictating both perception and reality. A whispered disagreement erupts between staffers, brief but sharp. Hegseth fidgets, unsure whether to speak, pause, or step aside. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every breath, every glance, every unsent message compounds the risk. Trump leans back, expression unreadable, hands steepled. The room is taut, a wire stretched to the breaking point. And then the tipping point arrives: microdecisions, fractured alliances, and public scrutiny converge, ready to unravel everything. Next layer: cascading fallout, irreversible mistakes, loyalty tested, perception reshaping reality in real time. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The first wave of responses hits like a tidal surge. Phones vibrate relentlessly. Notifications pile up, screens glowing red with alerts. You feel it in your chest, a metallic pressure, heavy, pressing against every nerve, every breath deliberate, shallow. Trump leans back, hands steepled, eyes scanning the room. They're not holding back, he mutters, voice low, precise. Hegseth fidgets, thumb brushing the edge of a folder teetering on the table. Unsigned statements, unsent corrections, emails hovering in limbo. Every microdecision now carries outsized weight. Staff shuffle papers, mutter under their breath. Whispered doubts ricochet. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every small misstep compounds the danger. A pen clicks, a chair scrapes. Tiny sounds amplified in the charged atmosphere. Hegseth finally speaks, words careful but faltering. A phrase miscalculated. A correction too late. Public reaction is immediate, clips looped, pundits dissecting, social media igniting. Inside, the metallic tang of tension thickens, almost tasting of fear itself. Trump's gaze lingers, sharp, unreadable. Every second counts. Every move matters. Don't let this spiral. Hegseth hesitates, respond now or wait, correct or ignore. The paradox is brutal, act too quickly, risk error, act too slowly, lose control entirely. Microdecisions become life or death, which tweet to approve, which response to hold, which ally to brief. The room feels smaller, heavier. Tiny fractures widen into visible cracks. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Outside, the storm grows. Headlines, clips, pundits, hashtags. Inside, every microdecision ripples, shaping perception and reality simultaneously. And this is where the unraveling accelerates, errors cascade, alliances fracture, loyalty tested, perception shaping the outcome. Next layer, irreversible mistakes, internal betrayal, public pressure converging to a tipping point. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The air in the room feels charged, almost electric. Fluorescent lights buzz, shadows stretching like fingers across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic pressure that makes every breath deliberate, every heartbeat amplified. Trump leans forward, eyes sharp, scanning the room. They're not aligned, he mutters. Words low but lethal, slicing through the tension. Hegseth shifts, notes trembling, thumb brushing a folder teetering on the table. Unsigned statements, unsent emails, half-drafted responses, microdecisions now dictate the room's survival. A whisper erupts from the corner. Not loud, almost a sigh, but enough to fracture confidence. Staff exchange tense glances, alignment cracking. Tiny disagreements magnified under scrutiny. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every unsent message compounds the risk. Trump's voice cuts through, calm but edged, one misstep, and the narrative is gone. Hegseth hesitates. Respond now, or wait. Correct, or ignore. The paradox is brutal, act too quickly, risk a miscalculation, act too slowly, lose control completely. A folder slides slightly, unsent talking points shifting, but nobody reaches for it. Tiny errors, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Outside, the storm intensifies. Clips replayed, pundits dissect, social media explodes. Inside, microdecisions ripple outward, shaping perception and reality simultaneously. A staffer whispers a warning, another misreads a memo. Hegseth corrects too late. Trump notices, expression unreadable. Loyalty fractures, alignment falters. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every breath, every glance, every subtle move compounds the tension. And then, the near breaking point, internal betrayal meets public pressure. Errors cascade, miscommunication multiplies, alliances weaken. The room teeters on the edge of chaos. Next layer, irreversible fallout, missteps magnifying public backlash, perception reshaping reality, momentum running wild. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The first wave of backlash hits like a storm surge. Phones vibrate uncontrollably, notifications flashing red, screens glowing with alerts. You feel it in your chest, a metallic weight, every heartbeat magnified, every inhale shallow, deliberate. Trump leans forward, elbows on the table, eyes scanning like a hawk. "They're not waiting," he mutters. Words low, precise, impossible to ignore. Hegseth shifts, thumb brushing the edge of a folder teetering precariously. Drafts unsent, talking points unapproved, corrections never made. Every microdecision now carries monumental weight. A staffer whispers a warning. Another misreads a memo. A tiny misstep, invisible to outsiders, now triggers cascading consequences. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause, every glance, every unsent message compounds the pressure. Hegseth finally responds, words measured but faltering. A phrase miscalculated. A correction too late. Public reaction is immediate, clips looped, pundits dissecting, social media erupting. Inside, the metallic tang of tension thickens, almost tasting of fear itself. Trump leans back, steepling his fingers, expression unreadable. Every second counts. Every move matters. Don't let this spiral. Hegseth hesitates, speak now or wait, correct or ignore. The paradox is brutal, act too quickly, risk error, act too slowly, lose control entirely. Microdecisions now dictate perception and reality, which tweet to approve, which ally to brief, which narrative to prioritize. The room feels smaller, heavier. Tiny fractures widen into visible cracks. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Outside, the social media storm escalates. Headlines, clips, pundits, hashtags, every misstep magnified. Inside, the room tightens around the staff like a vice. Microdecisions ripple outward, shaping outcomes far beyond the walls. And this is where the unraveling becomes irreversible, errors cascade, alliances fracture, public perception hardens. Next layer, internal chaos colliding with external pressure, decisions becoming irreversible, trust breaking, and the room spiraling toward total collapse. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room feels like it's closing in. Fluorescent lights flicker, shadows stretching like fingers across strained faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic, pressing weight, each heartbeat magnified, each inhale deliberate, shallow. Trump leans forward, eyes scanning like a predator. "This is slipping," he mutters. Words sharp, low, impossible to ignore. Hegseth shifts, notes trembling, thumb brushing a folder teetering on the table. Unsigned statements, unsent corrections, half-drafted responses, the tiniest decisions now dictate survival. A staffer whispers a warning, another misreads a memo. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every microdecision compounds the danger. Alliances fracture further, subtle glances, whispered doubts, tiny disagreements now magnified under pressure. Hegseth speaks, carefully measured, but falters mid-sentence. A phrase miscalculated. A correction too late. Public reaction explodes, clips looped endlessly, pundits dissecting, social media igniting. The metallic tang of tension thickens, almost tasting like fear itself. Trump's hands are steepled, expression unreadable, eyes scanning every movement. Every second counts. Every move matters, he says. Hegseth hesitates, respond now or wait, correct or ignore. The paradox is brutal, act too quickly, risk error, act too slowly, lose control completely. A folder slides from the edge of the podium. No one reaches for it. Tiny errors, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Microdecisions ripple outward, which tweet to approve, which ally to brief, which narrative to prioritize. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Outside, the storm rages. Headlines, clips, pundits, hashtags, every misstep amplified exponentially. Inside, the room tightens around the staff like a vice. Internal chaos collides with external pressure. The unraveling is total. Trust breaks. Alliances collapse. Perception hardens into reality. And then a silence falls, thick, suffocating. The room knows it, the tipping point has passed. There's no turning back. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room is quieter now, but the tension hasn't left. Fluorescent lights buzz intermittently, shadows lingering across tired, strained faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic weight that presses with every heartbeat, a reminder that the storm has passed, but the damage remains. Hegseth sits frozen, notes scattered, thumb brushing the edge of a folder now harmlessly still. Public clips loop endlessly online. Headlines have hardened into judgment, critiques, analyses, viral takedowns. Every microdecision he made, or failed to make, has compounded, irreversible now. Trump leans back, expression unreadable. The narrative can be steered, he murmurs. Voice calm, almost detached. Staff exchange glances, some wary, some exhausted. Trust has cracked, alliances tested under fire now feel fragile, brittle. The metallic tang of tension still lingers, heavier in absence than in action. Every pause, every glance, every microdecision made in the chaos now weighs like a ledger of choices. Some emails unsent, some corrections delayed, tiny actions now amplified by the full scope of fallout. Outside, the world has moved on, but social media, pundits, and headlines remain relentless. Perception has solidified. Reality, once malleable, now hardens against them. Momentum has punished hesitation. Microdecisions have dictated public narrative and internal fractures alike. Trump's eyes sweep the room one last time. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. Hegseth exhales, shoulders heavy. The room exhales collectively, but only as a fragile acknowledgement of what's left, loyalty strained, reputation scarred, consequences irreversible. And somewhere in the silence, a reminder echoes, every choice, every pause, every glance mattered. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room is nearly empty now. Fluorescent lights hum faintly, shadows stretching across papers left scattered, a folder still perched at the edge of the podium. You feel it in your chest, the lingering metallic weight of tension, the memory of every heartbeat, every pause, every microdecision that led here. Hegseth sits quietly, shoulders heavy, eyes distant. Outside, headlines have hardened into history, viral clips, pundit analyses, social media verdicts. Every misstep amplified, every hesitation punished. The reality is set, perception has become immutable. Trump remains, calm, hands steepled, scanning what remains of loyalty and alignment. Power is rarely what it seems, he murmurs. Every microdecision, every glance, every whisper, once seemingly insignificant, now a thread in the tapestry of consequence. The metallic tang of tension still lingers, heavier in absence than in action. Momentum, once a subtle pulse, has solidified into an unstoppable force. Paradox reigns, control felt certain, until reality decided otherwise. Ambition once driving became blinding. Trust is fragile. Perception is currency. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every microdecision ripples outward, shaping both private and public fate. The folder slides slightly from the podium edge, tiny, imperceptible. A reminder that even the smallest detail can echo infinitely. The room exhales collectively, quietly acknowledging the irreversible chain of events. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. And somewhere in the silence, the paradox lingers. Power slips, perception hardens, momentum punishes, and the smallest decisions can decide legacies. Ever seen someone unravel in real time? The room smells faintly of burnt coffee and old paper. Fluorescent lights buzz like a nervous heartbeat. And what happens next feels inevitable. Trump leans back, eyes scanning, hands steepled. The tension is metallic, pressing against every nerve in the room. Hegseth shifts, thumb brushing a folder teetering at the edge of the table. Drafts unsent, talking points unapproved, corrections hovering in limbo. Microdecisions now define survival. Explain your comments from yesterday, a host's voice cuts sharp through the silence. Hegseth swallows. The words come slowly, calculated, but already dissected in real time by millions. A phone buzzes. Papers rustle. Every pause, glance, or hesitation compounds the pressure. Momentum punishes hesitation. Fluorescent lights flicker like a countdown. Tiny errors, imperceptible to outsiders, a folder sliding, a draft misread, loom monumental. Inside, whispered disagreements ricochet. Staff shuffle papers, glance at screens, hesitate mid-motion. Microdecisions now dictate perception and reality simultaneously. Hegseth clears his throat. I thought it was aligned. The words falter. Public reaction is instantaneous. Clips looped, pundits dissecting, social media igniting. Trump leans forward, voice low, we need clarity. Immediately. No room for hesitation. The paradox is brutal: act too quickly, risk error; act too slowly, lose control entirely. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every unsent email compounds the danger. Trust fractures subtly, whispered glances, tiny disagreements, microdecisions magnified under pressure. Hegseth's hand hovers over his phone. Respond now, or wait. Correct, or ignore. Each choice is amplified into consequence. The room vibrates with pressure. Fluorescent lights hum, shadows crawling across anxious faces. Momentum punishes hesitation. Alliances begin to strain. Small missteps ripple outward, shaping both private dynamics and public perception. Every second counts, Trump murmurs. Hands steepled, eyes scanning every movement. A folder slides slightly, unsent talking points drifting unnoticed. Tiny errors now carry monumental weight. Microdecisions ripple outward, which tweet to approve, which ally to brief, which narrative to prioritize. The metallic tang of tension thickens. Air tastes sharp, anxiety palpable. Hegseth speaks again. Carefully measured, but falters mid-sentence. A phrase miscalculated. Correction too late. Public reaction explodes. Momentum punishes hesitation. The room teeters on the edge of chaos. Trust cracks. Alliances falter. The tipping point arrives, internal betrayal collides with public scrutiny. Silence falls briefly, heavy, suffocating. The storm outside rages. Headlines, clips, pundits, hashtags, every misstep magnified exponentially. Inside, every microdecision compounds. Unsigned statements, delayed corrections, subtle misreads, once small, now irreversible. Hegseth exhales. Shoulders heavy. The room exhales collectively. Trust broken. Reputation scarred. Consequences irreversible. Fluorescent lights hum faintly. Shadows linger across scattered papers, the folder still perched on the podium. You feel it in your chest, the metallic weight of tension, a memory of every pause, glance, and microdecision. Power slips through fingers. Perception hardens. Momentum punishes hesitation. Ambition blinds. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. Every choice, every pause, every glance mattered. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. Ever seen someone unravel in real time? The room smells faintly of burnt coffee, mingled with the sharp tang of old paper and the faint metallic scent of stress. Fluorescent lights buzz, a low, nervous hum that seems to echo every heartbeat in the room. Shadows stretch across strained faces, bending and flickering with each subtle movement. Trump leans back in his chair, eyes scanning, hands steepled like a hawk observing prey. "You feel it, don't you?" he mutters under his breath, voice low but sharp. Hegseth shifts, thumb brushing the corner of a folder teetering precariously on the edge of the table. Unsigned statements, half-drafted corrections, and unsent emails litter the space. Micro-decisions now dictate survival. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Tiny sounds amplified in the charged atmosphere. A staffer exhales too loudly. Another shifts in their seat. Whispered side comments ricochet off the walls, subtle but poisonous. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Hegseth clears his throat, words measured but faltering. The alignment was intended. A pause. You can almost hear the public's reaction before it even happens. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing against the chest, coiling in the gut, making every breath deliberate. Trump leans forward, eyes narrowing. Clarity. Now. No room for hesitation. The paradox is unbearable: act too quickly, risk misstep; act too slowly, lose control completely. A folder slides slightly from the edge of the podium. No one reaches for it. Tiny missteps, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Outside, phones vibrate relentlessly. Notifications flash red. Clips are looping online. Headlines are forming. Every small decision compounds public scrutiny. Inside, the staff shifts subtly, body language taut, whispering, calculating. Every glance and hesitation carries weight. And you can feel it in your chest, the metallic pressure of momentum, perception, and fragile trust colliding. The cameras roll. A low hum fills the studio, mingling with the faint click of monitors and the occasional scrape of a chair. Hegseth sits stiffly, notes trembling in his hands. Every muscle seems taut, coiled like a spring ready to snap. You can feel it in the room, the metallic tang of tension pressing against your chest, the pulse of anticipation thrumming like a live wire. "Explain your comments from yesterday," the host's voice cuts sharply. Hegseth swallows, eyes darting to screens, phones, and the folder still teetering on the podium's edge. Words come slowly, carefully measured, but already dissected by millions watching in real time. A phone buzzes on the table. A small beep, almost inconsequential, but magnified in this charged atmosphere. Staff glance nervously at one another, whispering side comments, subtle gestures betraying doubt. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every micro-decision, every glance, carries immense weight. Hegseth speaks again. I believe the alignment was," his words falter mid-phrase. Fluorescent lights flicker as if echoing the uncertainty, shadows bending across anxious faces. The metallic pressure thickens. You can almost taste it in the air: anxiety, anticipation, fear. Trump leans forward slightly, voice low but precise: "Do not let this spiral. Clarity is everything." Hegseth hesitates. Should he correct immediately? Wait for a pause? Each choice could ripple outward, irreversible. A folder slides slightly, unnoticed, drafts and talking points shifting subtly. Tiny errors now loom monumental. Outside, the storm grows, notifications flash red, clips loop endlessly, social media ignites. Inside, whispered warnings ricochet. Misread emails, minor miscommunications, subtle body language, microdecisions compound into palpable pressure. The paradox tightens: every action feels necessary, yet every hesitation punishes. Hegseth exhales slowly. His voice steadies, but only just. The metallic tang of tension lingers, thicker now, almost alive, pressing into every chest. The cameras stop rolling, but the room doesn't exhale. Fluorescent lights hum low, shadows stretching across strained faces. You can feel it in your chest, the metallic weight of tension, pressing, coiling, almost tasting of anxiety itself. Hegseth sits frozen, notes scattered, thumb brushing the edge of a folder now harmlessly still. Staff shuffle papers, avoid eye contact, whisper warnings that ricochet off the walls. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. A staffer leans in, voice low, "Did you see the reaction outside?" Hegseth swallows, eyes darting to his phone. Notifications flood in, alerts, clips looping, pundits dissecting every word. Every microdecision from earlier, unsent emails, delayed corrections, subtle phrasing, now magnified under the glare of scrutiny. Another whisper, they're talking about the teetering folder on the podium. A tiny gesture, a subtle misstep, now carries monumental weight. Trump remains seated, hands steepled, expression unreadable. Every subtle motion observed, every pause noted. Hegseth's mind races. Correct now, or wait. Clarify, or let it ride. The paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk miscalculation, act too slowly, lose control completely. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing, almost tasting of fear itself. Outside, the storm grows louder. Social media, clips, pundits, every misstep magnified, every moment dissected. Inside, whispers ricochet, alliances strain, trust fractures subtly but irrevocably. Every small decision compounds, threading a chain of consequences impossible to reverse. Hegseth exhales, shoulders heavy. The room exhales collectively, quietly acknowledging the shift, the tipping point has begun. The room feels smaller now, as if the walls themselves are closing in. Fluorescent lights flicker intermittently, shadows stretching across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic pressure, each heartbeat amplified, each inhale shallow, deliberate. Whispers ricochet between staffers. Subtle glances, half nods, and minute frowns speak volumes. Loyalty is tested in microseconds, a hesitation here, a misread expression there. Every small gesture now carries monumental weight. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Hegseth sits rigid, notes trembling, thumbs brushing the edge of the folder that teeters on the podium. One staffer mutters under their breath, "We shouldn't have agreed to that phrasing." Another glances nervously at Trump. Eyes meet briefly, trust fractures silently, alliances subtly splintering. Trump leans forward, voice calm but edged, "We are aligned, aren't we?" Every eye flickers. Every small nod is weighed. Every whispered correction or hesitation becomes a weapon in the room. The paradox tightens, the more they attempt to maintain control, the faster alignment slips through their fingers. A folder slides slightly from the podium edge, unsent talking points shifting imperceptibly. Tiny errors, invisible to outsiders, ripple outward, magnifying stakes exponentially. Microdecisions dictate both private and public consequences. Emails unsent, corrections delayed, whispered miscommunications, each a pebble causing avalanches. Outside, the storm escalates, clips replayed, headlines forming, pundits dissecting every syllable. Inside, whispered warnings ricochet, alliances strain, trust fractures. Hegseth exhales slowly. Every decision feels critical, yet every hesitation is punished by momentum. The room tightens around them like a vice. Every glance, every pause, every minor gesture carries weight. The room teeters on the edge, every sound magnified. Fluorescent lights hum erratically, casting long shadows that stretch and twist across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, a metallic weight pressing with every heartbeat, each inhale deliberate, shallow, tense. Hegseth's notes lie scattered, thumbs brushing the edge of the folder still perched precariously. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Micro-decisions ripple outward, an unsent email, a delayed correction, a glance exchanged too slowly. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Staff whisper side comments, subtle but loaded. One frowns at another, eyes flicking toward Trump. Loyalty cracks quietly, silently, alliances fraying with each passing second. The paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk misstep, act too slowly, lose control entirely. Trump leans forward, voice calm but precise, this is slipping. We need clarity now. Hegseth hesitates. Correct immediately or wait for a better moment. Every choice amplified into consequence. A folder teeters. Drafts shift. Tiny errors, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Outside, the storm intensifies. Phones buzz. Notifications flash. Clips loop endlessly. Headlines form in real time. Inside, whispers ricochet. Subtle gestures, misread expressions, microdecisions compound into chaos. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing against every chest, coiling in the gut, almost tasting like fear itself. Hegseth exhales slowly, shoulders heavy. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every minor gesture threads into an irreversible chain of events. The room is quieter now, but the tension hasn't left. Fluorescent lights hum faintly, shadows stretching across scattered papers and teetering folders. You feel it in your chest, a metallic, pressing weight, a memory of every heartbeat, every pause, every microdecision that led here. Hegseth sits frozen, notes scattered, thumbs brushing the edge of the folder. Staff shuffle papers, whisper, avoid eye contact. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance matters. Every pause compounds. Outside, the storm grows. Notifications flash. Clips loop endlessly. Social media erupts. Headlines solidify into judgment. Every misstep, every unsent correction, every subtle misread phrase is magnified. Public scrutiny is relentless, unforgiving. Trump leans back, expression unreadable, hands steepled. The narrative can be steered, he murmurs, voice calm, almost detached. Staff glance at one another, wary, exhausted. Trust has cracked, alliances tested under fire now feel brittle, fragile. The metallic tang of tension thickens. Fluorescent lights flicker. Microdecisions, minor missteps, delayed responses, whispered warnings, have compounded into irreversible consequences. Every glance, every pause, every small action threads into a chain no one can undo. Hegseth exhales, shoulders heavy. The room exhales collectively, quietly acknowledging the tipping point has passed. Trust broken. Reputation scarred. Momentum relentless. The room teeters on the brink of chaos. Fluorescent lights buzz like a countdown, shadows twisting across anxious faces. You feel it in your chest, the metallic pressure of tension, coiling in your gut, every heartbeat magnified. Hegseth sits rigid, notes trembling, thumbs brushing the edge of a folder still perched precariously. Staff shift uneasily, whispering, glancing, calculating. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every minor movement matters. Trump leans forward, hands steepled, eyes scanning the room. Calm, calculating, unreadable. You're losing control, he murmurs under his breath. Subtle missteps ripple outward, unsent emails, delayed corrections, whispered warnings, microdecisions now dictate both private and public outcomes. A folder slides slightly from the podium edge. No one reaches for it. Tiny errors, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Every pause, every glance, every minor gesture threads into an irreversible chain. Paradox tightens, the more they try to steer, the faster the room slips from their control. Outside, the storm intensifies. Phones vibrate endlessly. Clips replay, pundits dissect, social media ignites. Inside, trust fractures further. Alliances strain. Subtle betrayals, glances, whispered comments, hesitation, magnify exponentially. Hegseth exhales slowly, shoulders heavy, voice barely audible. Momentum punishes hesitation. Power feels certain, until reality asserts itself. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The cameras are gone. The room is quiet now, yet the air still vibrates with tension. Fluorescent lights hum softly, shadows stretching across scattered papers and the folder that teetered but never fell. You feel it in your chest, the metallic weight of every heartbeat, every pause, every microdecision that led here. Hegseth sits motionless, shoulders heavy, eyes distant. Notes lie in disarray. Unsigned emails linger, reminders of what could have been corrected, or controlled. Staff shuffle papers quietly, whispering behind closed doors. Subtle glances, fleeting hesitations, small gestures that now carry the weight of consequence. Outside, the storm rages on. Headlines have solidified. Clips loop endlessly. Social media verdicts form instantaneously, magnifying every misstep. What was once minor, a delayed clarification, a subtle misread phrase, has now escalated into irreversible consequences. Momentum punishes hesitation. Perception becomes reality. Trust, once assumed, fractures under scrutiny. Trump remains calm, hands steepled, expression unreadable. He observes, calculating. The chain has been set in motion, he murmurs. Subtle gestures, whispered corrections, tiny microdecisions, all have led here. Hegseth exhales, shoulders sinking. Every decision now echoes beyond the room, threading into both private and public fallout. The metallic tang of tension lingers, heavier in absence than in action. Momentum punishes hesitation. Power slips through fingers. Perception solidifies. Microdecisions, once insignificant, now dictate the narrative. The room is empty now, yet tension lingers like a ghost. Fluorescent lights hum faintly, casting long shadows across scattered papers, the folder that once teetered, and the empty chairs. You can still feel it, the metallic pressure of every heartbeat, every glance, every microdecision threading through time. Hegseth exhales, shoulders heavy, eyes distant. Momentum has punished hesitation. Trust shattered. Alliances fractured. Every small choice, unsent emails, delayed corrections, whispered miscommunications, has magnified into consequences no one can undo. Perception has solidified. Power, once assumed, slips through fingers like sand. Trump remains in memory only, hands steepled, expression unreadable. Calm, calculated, observing from a distance. The paradox is clear, the more one tries to control, the faster reality asserts itself. Every pause, every gesture, every subtle misstep compounds. Ambition can be beautiful, until it blinds you. Control feels certain, until momentum decides otherwise. Outside, the storm continues. Headlines, clips, pundits dissecting every word. Social media verdicts relentless. Inside, the echoes remain. The metallic tang of tension hangs, a sensory imprint of decisions, hesitations, and moments frozen in consequence. Would you have acted differently if you were in that room? Every microdecision mattered. Every glance, pause, gesture, the smallest misstep or subtle correction, could have changed the outcome. Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. Momentum punishes hesitation. Power is perception. Trust is fragile. And in that room, every heartbeat, every microdecision, every pause carved a path no one could reverse. Ever seen someone unravel in real time? The room smells faintly of burnt coffee, mingled with the sharp tang of old paper and the metallic bite of tension. Fluorescent lights buzz nervously, shadows twisting and stretching across strained faces. And what happens next feels inevitable. Trump leans back, eyes scanning, hands steepled like a hawk observing prey. "You feel it, don't you?" he mutters under his breath. Hegseth shifts, thumb brushing a folder teetering precariously on the edge of the table. Unsigned statements, half-drafted corrections, unsent emails litter the space. Micro-decisions now dictate survival. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Tiny sounds amplified in the charged atmosphere. Whispers ricochet off walls. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Hegseth clears his throat, words measured but faltering. The alignment was intended. A pause. You can almost hear the public's reaction before it even happens. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing against the chest, coiling in the gut, making every breath deliberate. Trump leans forward slightly. Clarity. Now. No room for hesitation. The paradox is brutal: act too quickly, risk misstep; act too slowly, lose control entirely. A folder slides slightly from the podium. No one reaches for it. Tiny missteps, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. The cameras roll. The studio hums with low energy, monitors clicking, chairs scraping. Hegseth sits stiffly, notes trembling in his hands. Every muscle taut, coiled like a spring ready to snap. "Explain your comments from yesterday," the host cuts sharply. Hegseth swallows, eyes darting to screens, phones, and the folder still teetering. Words come slowly, carefully measured, but already dissected by millions watching. A phone buzzes. Staff glance nervously, whispering side comments. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every microdecision, every glance carries immense weight. Hegseth falters mid-sentence. I believe the alignment was. Fluorescent lights flicker like nervous pulses, shadows bending across anxious faces. Trump leans forward. "Do not let this spiral. Clarity is everything." The paradox tightens, every action feels necessary, yet every hesitation is punished. Outside, notifications flash red. Clips loop endlessly. Headlines form. Inside, whispered warnings ricochet, alliances strain. Micro-decisions, the unsent emails, the delayed clarifications, the subtle gestures, compound. You feel it in your chest, the metallic weight of momentum, perception, and fragile trust colliding. The cameras are off, but the room hasn't exhaled. Fluorescent lights hum low, shadows stretching across papers and the teetering folder. Every heartbeat echoes the metallic pressure of tension. Staff shuffle papers, whisper, avoid eye contact. Momentum punishes hesitation. A staffer mutters, "Did you see the reaction outside?" Notifications flood in, alerts, clips, pundits dissecting every word. Every microdecision, unsent emails, delayed corrections, subtle phrasing, is magnified under scrutiny. Trump leans back, hands steepled. Observing. Calculating. Hegseth exhales. Should he correct now, or wait? Each choice amplified. The paradox tightens: act too quickly, risk misstep; act too slowly, lose control completely. The room shrinks under pressure. Fluorescent lights flicker. Shadows twist across anxious faces. Whispers ricochet. Subtle glances, half nods, and micro-frowns speak volumes. Loyalty is tested, hesitation here, a glance there. Every gesture carries monumental weight. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Hegseth sits rigid, thumbs brushing the teetering folder. Trump leans forward. "We are aligned, aren't we?" Subtle missteps ripple outward, whispered warnings, delayed corrections, minor miscommunications, all magnified. Outside, the storm grows. Clips replayed, headlines forming, pundits dissecting every syllable. Inside, whispered warnings ricochet, alliances strain, trust fractures. Microdecisions now dictate fate. The room teeters on the edge. Every sound magnified. Fluorescent lights flicker, shadows bend across anxious faces. Metallic pressure coils in every gut, every heartbeat amplified. Hegseth's notes lie scattered, thumbs brushing the folder. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Microdecisions ripple outward, unsent emails, delayed corrections, glances too slow. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Trump leans forward. This is slipping. We need clarity now. Hegseth hesitates. Correct immediately or wait. Every choice amplified into consequence. A folder teeters, drafts shifting imperceptibly. Tiny errors loom monumental. Outside, phones buzz endlessly. Clips loop. Social media ignites. Inside, whispers ricochet, alliances strain, trust fractures. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing into every chest, coiling in the gut. The fallout is irreversible. The room quieter, yet the air thick with tension. Hegseth sits frozen, shoulders heavy, notes in disarray. Unsigned emails linger like ghosts. Staff shuffle, whisper, subtle gestures carrying consequences. Outside, the storm grows louder, headlines solidified, clips looping, social media verdicts relentless. Momentum punishes hesitation. Trust fractures. Perception solidifies. Minor missteps now magnified. Trump remains calm, hands steepled, expression unreadable. The chain has been set in motion, he murmurs. Hegseth exhales, shoulders sinking. Every microdecision threads into a public and private fallout. The room teeters on the brink of chaos. Fluorescent lights buzz like a countdown. Shadows twist across anxious faces. Hegseth rigid, thumbs brushing the folder. Staff whisper, glance, calculate. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, every pause, every minor movement matters. Trump leans forward, voice calm, precise, you're losing control. Tiny missteps ripple outward, unsent emails, delayed corrections, whispered warnings. Microdecisions dictate both private and public outcomes. A folder slides slightly. The paradox tightens, the more they try to steer, the faster reality slips. Outside, phones vibrate. Clips replay. Social media ignites. Trust fractures further. Subtle betrayals, glances, whispers, hesitation, magnify exponentially. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The aftermath settles. Cameras gone, yet tension lingers. Fluorescent lights hum faintly, shadows across scattered papers. Metallic pressure echoes every heartbeat, every pause, every microdecision. Hegseth sits motionless. Momentum punished hesitation. Trust shattered. Alliances fractured. Every small choice, unsent emails, delayed corrections, whispered miscommunications, magnified. Perception solidified. Power slipped through fingers like sand. Trump observed from memory. Calm, calculated. Paradox is clear, the more you try to control, the faster reality asserts itself. The room empty, yet tension lingers. Fluorescent lights hum, shadows stretching across papers, the folder that teetered but never fell. You feel it, the metallic weight of every heartbeat, every glance, every microdecision threading through time. Hegseth exhales, shoulders heavy. Momentum punished hesitation. Trust shattered. Alliances fractured. Every microdecision, unsent emails, delayed corrections, whispered miscommunications, dictated consequences no one could undo. Perception became reality. Power slips through fingers. Momentum punishes hesitation. Would you have acted differently if you were in that room? Every glance, every pause, every gesture mattered. Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. Ever seen someone unravel in real time? The room smells faintly of burnt coffee, mingled with the metallic bite of tension and the sharp tang of old paper. Fluorescent lights hum like a nervous heartbeat. Shadows twist, stretching across strained faces, dancing on walls lined with monitors and scattered folders. You feel it in your chest. Every inhale deliberate, shallow, the weight of anticipation pressing against ribs. Hegseth sits stiffly, notes trembling in his hands. His thumbs brush the edge of a folder teetering precariously, unsent emails and half-drafted statements stacked like small, combustible kindling. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Subtle sounds, amplified in the charged atmosphere. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance carries enormous weight. Trump leans back, eyes scanning, hands steepled, almost predatory. Do you feel it? He murmurs under his breath. Hegseth swallows, eyes darting across screens. Clips replaying already, pundits dissecting, social media verdicts forming in real time. Every micro-decision, unsent email, delayed correction, phrasing choice, magnifies under scrutiny. The host's voice cuts sharply, explain your comments from yesterday. Hegseth falters. Words measured, precise, but already dissected. The alignment was intended to, his voice wavers mid-phrase. The metallic tang of tension thickens, pressing against the chest, coiling in the gut, making every breath deliberate. Trump leans forward slightly. Clarity. Now. No room for hesitation. The paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk misstep, act too slowly, lose control entirely. A folder slides slightly from the podium. No one reaches for it. Tiny missteps, invisible to outsiders, now loom monumental. Outside, notifications flash. Headlines form. Clips loop endlessly. Inside, whispers ricochet. Staff glance at each other, nervous, calculating. Micro-decisions now dictate fate. The room tightens around him. Every sound is amplified. The hum of fluorescent lights pulses like a nervous heartbeat. Shadows twist across faces, across desks, across the teetering folder at the edge of the podium. Hegseth's fingers brush the paper again, almost unconsciously, as if the act could restore some imagined control. A staffer shifts in their chair. A pen drops, rolling slowly across the floor. The sound echoes, louder than it should, snapping the room to awareness. Eyes flick toward the noise. Brief, nervous smiles. Half nods. Micro-gestures of reassurance, or accusation. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance compounds. Hegseth's throat tightens. He can feel the metallic tang of anxiety at the back of his tongue, the pressure pressing in his chest. His mind races, replaying the morning's decisions, the phrasing in his memo, the email left unsent, the subtle corrections delayed until after the broadcast. Every micro-decision now amplified, every hesitation now a monument. Trump leans forward, hands steepled, eyes sharp. Not a word yet, but the air thickens. You see it, he murmurs. Calm, calculated, predator-like. The paradox is clear, the more he tries to assert control, the faster the room unravels around him. The first alert arrives. Phones buzz, screens flash red. Clips of Hegseth's earlier comments loop, dissected with surgical precision by pundits and online commentators. Staff glance at one another. Whispered phrases ricochet through the room, almost too soft to hear but impossible to ignore. We shouldn't have phrased it that way. Did anyone catch that slip? Subtle blame, shifting alliances, trust cracking in milliseconds. Hegseth exhales sharply, thumb brushing the folder again. Every nerve is taut, every microdecision now potentially catastrophic. A chair scrapes, another pen clicks. Tiny sounds, magnified by the room's tension. Outside, the storm grows louder. Social media erupts. Headlines form, trending within seconds. The public's perception solidifies before he can even react. He thinks of every choice, every micro-action. Should he clarify now, or wait? Correct immediately, risking misstep, or pause, risking chaos. The room waits. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every second counts. Every pause, glance, gesture, compounded into consequences no one can rewind. The folder shifts slightly. Hegseth notices. His eyes widen subtly. No one else seems to see it, but he knows, the tiniest misstep, unnoticed by outsiders, can become monumental in the hours to come. A staffer leans in, whispering. "They're dissecting your phrasing already." Hegseth swallows. The metallic tang of anxiety sharpens, pressing against his chest. He can feel it in his stomach, a coil of dread twisting tighter with every heartbeat. He imagines the headlines forming, the pundits dissecting every word, the social media storm growing like a wildfire he cannot contain. Trump finally speaks. Control feels certain, he murmurs. Until reality decides otherwise. The statement echoes in Hegseth's mind, paradoxical yet true. The more he tries to steer, the faster the room slips. Momentum cannot be tamed. Hegseth's eyes dart to a phone buzzing incessantly. Notifications flood in. Clips, alerts, messages from staff. Every microdecision from the morning, from yesterday, from weeks prior, now amplified. He feels the weight of every choice. Unsigned statements. Unsent emails. Subtle misreads. Whispered corrections that arrived too late. Tiny gestures that now loom monumental. A staffer's whispered question cuts through, do we respond, or let it ride? The tension coils tighter. Every answer, every decision magnified. Microdecisions cascading like dominoes. Every pause, every glance, every subtle gesture threading into an irreversible chain. Hegseth exhales. Should he act? Should he clarify? Each option carries immense risk. Outside, social media explodes. Headlines flash red. Pundits analyze the teetering folder, the misphrased statements, the subtle hesitation. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every microdecision now visible to millions. He glances at Trump. Hands steepled. Calm. Calculating. Observing. Not interfering, but the presence itself a reminder, the room is no longer just about him. Trust has fractured. Alliances tested. Subtle glances, fleeting hesitation, whispered warnings, amplified exponentially by perception. Hegseth's mind races. He considers every tiny microdecision from the past, the half-sent email, the delayed clarification, the glance not given at the right moment. Each small act has compounded. Every pause punished. Every glance magnified. Every subtle misstep a potential avalanche. He exhales. Should he move? Correct, clarify, pause. Every choice now carries monumental weight. Momentum cannot be halted. Perception has solidified. Power slips through his fingers like sand. The folder still teeters at the edge of the podium. Hegseth's fingers hover, uncertain, trembling ever so slightly. Every micro-movement now magnified, every hesitation visible. A staffer clears their throat. The sound cuts like a knife through thick tension. Eyes flick toward the noise, subtle glances exchanged, half reassurance, half accusation. Momentum punishes hesitation. Each pause compounds. Every microdecision now carries outsized weight. Hegseth inhales slowly. The metallic tang of anxiety fills his mouth, pressing in his chest. Each heartbeat echoes like a drum in an empty hall, amplified by the fluorescent hum overhead. He thinks of the morning, the phrasing in his memo, the email left unsent, the minor corrections delayed until after the broadcast. Tiny missteps now monumental. Trump's eyes lock on him. Calm, precise, predator-like. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise, he murmurs. Paradox lances Hegseth's thoughts. The more he tries to steer, the faster reality asserts itself. Outside, the world erupts. Notifications flood in. Phones vibrate incessantly. Clips replayed endlessly, dissected with surgical precision by pundits and social media commentators. Every minor misstep is magnified exponentially. Hegseth feels it, the weight of every microdecision, the consequences threading outward like cracks in glass. Should he clarify now, risking misstep? Or pause, letting perception solidify further? Every choice feels like an atomic decision. A staffer whispers, "They're analyzing your phrasing already," Hegseth swallows. The metallic tang of dread sharpens, pressing into his gut. Every microdecision, every glance, every pause magnified in an invisible yet crushing spotlight. The fluorescent lights flicker. Shadows bend across the room, stretching and twisting as if reflecting the chaos building within. Chairs scrape. Pens click. Small, almost imperceptible noises amplified into monumental significance. Hegseth's mind races, half-formed phrases, unsent emails, delayed clarifications, gestures not made at the right moment. Every minor action threading into an irreversible chain. Momentum punishes hesitation. Each pause compounds. Every glance matters. Trump leans slightly forward, hands steepled. Not a word yet. But the weight of observation presses. Paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk misstep, act too slowly, lose control entirely. Outside, notifications flash. Headlines solidify. Clips loop. Social media ignites. Staff whisper, glance, hesitate, trust fractures in milliseconds. Alliances tested. Subtle betrayals, glances, gestures, hesitation, now magnified exponentially. Hegseth exhales sharply. Should he clarify? Correct? Wait. Every choice carries monumental weight. Every microdecision now visible to millions. The folder shifts slightly. He notices. Tiny error, unnoticed by outsiders, now looms monumental. He imagines headlines forming, pundits dissecting every phrase, every misstep, every hesitation. The metallic tang of tension presses heavier, pressing in his chest, coiling in his stomach. Momentum punishes hesitation. Microdecisions dictate outcomes. Power slips through fingers. Perception solidifies. Hegseth's eyes dart to a phone buzzing endlessly. Notifications pile up, breaking news, trending hashtags, clips replaying. Each microdecision from past days now amplified. Unsigned statements, unsent emails, subtle misreads, whispered corrections too late, all monumental in perception. A staffer leans in. Do we respond, or let it ride? Every second now critical. Every choice weighted. Microdecisions cascading like dominoes. Each glance, each pause, each gesture threading into an irreversible chain. Hegseth exhales again. Should he act? Momentum cannot be stopped. Power is fragile. Trust fractured. Perception solidified. Every small decision magnified into consequence. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The hum of fluorescent lights pulses through the room, vibrating against Hegseth's chest like a metronome counting down an invisible clock. Each beat presses against his ribs, every inhale deliberate, shallow, calculated. The metallic tang of tension lingers in his mouth, thick and heavy, as if the air itself is charged with consequence. The folder at the podium tilts slightly again. Hegseth's fingers hover above it. One twitch and it could fall. One misstep and the narrative could unravel further. Micro-decisions, small, seemingly insignificant, now dictate the trajectory of perception itself. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. Tiny sounds magnified by the charged atmosphere, echoes bouncing off walls lined with monitors. Staff glance toward the noise. Half nods, brief eye contact, whispered sighs. Subtle gestures, amplified, carry meaning far beyond their size. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Trump leans back, hands steepled, eyes narrowing. Calm. Calculating. Predator-like. Do you feel it? He murmurs under his breath. Hegseth swallows. The room tightens around him, invisible walls pressing inward. Every word he's spoken, every gesture he's made, every email unsent or delayed now coils in the air, threatening to snap. Notifications flood in. Phones buzz. Clips replay. Social media ignites. Every micro-decision from the past, phrasing missteps, delayed corrections, whispered clarifications, now amplified to near-mythic proportions. He can almost feel the ripples moving outward, tugging at alliances, trust, perception, power. Hegseth exhales sharply. Should he clarify? Correct? Pause. Every option carries monumental risk. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance now magnified, amplified, scrutinized. A staffer whispers, "They're analyzing your phrasing already." The words barely audible, yet they strike like a hammer, reverberating through the room. Hegseth feels it in his chest. Every muscle taut, nerves coiled like springs. The metallic tang of anxiety sharpens, pressing into his stomach, tightening his gut. He glances at the folder again. Teetering. One subtle movement could tip the balance. Outside, the storm grows. Headlines flash red. Clips loop. Social media commentary piles up, instantaneous and relentless. Momentum punishes hesitation. Perception solidifies before he can intervene. Trump leans forward slightly. The room seems to shrink under his gaze. Hands steepled. Not a word yet, but the presence itself exerts pressure. Paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk misstep, pause, lose control entirely. The tiniest gestures, nodding, glancing, hesitating, now carry monumental weight. Hegseth's mind races. He replays the morning's decisions, the phrasing in his memo, the emails left unsent, the corrections delayed. Each tiny choice now amplified. Each micro-decision threading into a chain no one can reverse. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. A staffer leans in, whispering again, "Do we respond, or let it ride?" The weight of their words presses against him. Every choice now carries monumental consequences. Micro-decisions cascading outward like a series of invisible dominoes. The folder slides again, imperceptibly. Hegseth notices. A minor detail, invisible to most, monumental in effect. Each small gesture, each unsent message, each micropause carries weight. Momentum punishes hesitation. Perception solidifies. Power slips through fingers like sand. Hegseth exhales, tension coiling in his chest and stomach. The metallic tang of anxiety thickens. He imagines headlines forming, pundits dissecting every word, social media verdicts compiling into a judgment no one can contest. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every micro-decision now visible to millions. Trump finally speaks, control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. The statement echoes, paradoxical yet painfully true. Hegseth's mind loops, the more he tries to steer, the faster reality asserts itself. Momentum cannot be contained. Micro-decisions dictate outcomes far beyond immediate comprehension. The staff shifts, whispering, glancing, hesitating. Trust fractures. Alliances tested. Subtle betrayals, glances, gestures, whispered asides, now magnified. Hegseth's eyes dart across screens, phones, monitors, searching for a lifeline. None appears. Every choice monumental. Every pause punishing. He exhales sharply again. Should he act? Momentum cannot be halted. Trust fractured. Power slipping. Perception solidified. Micro-decisions, once trivial, now shape both private and public reality. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The room feels smaller now. Every breath seems to push against invisible walls, pressing into Hegseth's chest, tightening his ribs. Fluorescent lights hum with a low, insistent pulse, shadows bending and twisting across the walls, across the teetering folder, across anxious faces. Every detail sharp, every micro-gesture amplified into monumental consequence. Hegseth's fingers hover above the folder, trembling ever so slightly. One wrong move, one micro-decision misaligned, and the perception of competence could unravel. The metallic tang of anxiety laces his mouth. Each heartbeat thumps louder than it should, echoing in the charged, silent spaces between words. A pen clicks. A chair scrapes. The smallest sounds magnified into enormous significance. Staff glance at one another, half reassurance, half accusation. Micro-decisions ripple outward. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Trump leans back, hands steepled, eyes sharp. Calm. Calculating. Predator-like. Do you feel it? He murmurs under his breath. The paradox coils in Hegseth's mind, the more he tries to exert control, the faster the room unravels. Outside, the world erupts. Notifications flood in. Phones vibrate incessantly. Clips loop endlessly. Social media commentary piles up in real time. Every misstep, every hesitation, every micro-decision amplified far beyond the room's walls. Hegseth swallows. The morning's choices, phrasing in memos, emails left unsent, subtle corrections delayed, coil in his chest like a tightening spring. Tiny missteps now monumental. Every gesture, glance, or pause carries consequence. Momentum punishes hesitation. Each second compounds. A staffer whispers, barely audible, they're analyzing your phrasing already. The word strikes sharply, echoing in Hegseth's chest. Should he clarify? Correct? Wait. Each choice carries immense risk. Micro-decisions now dictate both perception and outcome. The fluorescent lights flicker again, shadows stretching and twisting as if the room itself is aware, reflecting the chaos within. Chairs scrape. Pens click. Microsounds amplified. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance compounds. Hegseth imagines the headlines forming, pundits dissecting every phrase, social media trending hashtags igniting like sparks in dry brush. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every micro-decision magnified. Every small gesture threads into a chain no one can reverse. Trump leans forward slightly. Hands steepled. Not a word yet, but presence presses down, invisible yet undeniable. Paradox tightens, act too quickly, risk misstep, hesitate, lose control. Every subtle gesture carries monumental weight. The folder slides again. Hegseth notices, heart tightening. A minor detail, invisible to outsiders, monumental in consequence. Every small action, unsent messages, delayed corrections, fleeting gestures, now magnified. Momentum punishes hesitation. Power slips through fingers like sand. Staff shift, whisper, glance, hesitate. Trust fractures. Alliances tested. Subtle betrayals magnified. Hegseth exhales sharply, feeling the metallic tang of tension pressing deeper into his chest. Every micro-decision now visible to millions. Trump finally speaks, control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. The paradox reverberates through Hegseth's mind. Momentum cannot be contained. Micro-decisions dictate outcomes far beyond immediate comprehension. Hegseth's eyes dart across screens, phones, monitors. Every notification, every alert, every trending hashtag amplifies the pressure. Should he act? Momentum cannot be halted. Trust fractured. Perception solidified. Micro-decisions once trivial now dictate reality. He exhales again, tension coiling in chest and gut. Every glance, every pause, every gesture threading into consequences too large to reverse. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling. The phone buzzes again. Red alerts flashing insistently. Social media roars, headlines solidifying before Hegseth can even process them. Clips loop endlessly, dissected with surgical precision by pundits, amplified by commentators across platforms. Every phrase he's uttered, every subtle pause, every micro-gesture replayed, scrutinized, misread. He feels it in his gut. The metallic tang of anxiety thickens, pressing against his chest. Fluorescent lights flicker above, shadows bending and twisting across the room, across the teetering folder, across anxious faces. Every small movement now carries monumental weight. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. A staffer leans in, whispering again. They're live tweeting your statements. Clips going viral. Analysts are calling it a meltdown. Hegseth swallows, tension coiling tighter in his stomach. Every micro-decision, unsent emails, delayed corrections, gestures not made at the right moment, now amplified exponentially. Trump leans back, hands steepled, eyes calculating. Control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise, he murmurs. The paradox loops in Hegseth's mind. The more he tries to steer, the faster the room unravels. Momentum cannot be contained. Micro-decisions dictate outcomes far beyond immediate comprehension. The staff shifts, whispering strategies, glancing at screens, hesitating. Trust fractures. Alliances tested. Subtle betrayals, glances, gestures, whispered asides, now magnified. Hegseth feels the pressure mounting, each micro-decision threading into an irreversible chain. The folder at the podium tilts again. Fingers hover. One misstep and perception could unravel completely. Tiny gestures now monumental. Chairs scrape, pens click. Microsounds amplified. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance matters. Hegseth imagines the headlines forming, pundits dissecting his phrasing, social media verdicts compiling into a judgment no one can contest. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every micro-decision visible to millions. Power slipping like sand through fingers. Trump finally leans forward, voice low, precise, predator-like. Do you feel it? The words slice through tension, pressing into Hegseth's chest. Paradox coils, act too quickly, risk misstep, hesitate, lose control entirely. Every gesture carries monumental weight. Hegseth's mind loops over the morning's decisions, phrasing in memos, unsent emails, delayed corrections. Each small act amplified. Each micro-decision threading into consequences no one can rewind. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every pause compounds. Every glance magnified. Outside, the storm intensifies. Notifications, clips, trending hashtags, pundit commentary. Momentum punishes hesitation. Micro-decisions dictate both perception and reality. Trust fractures. Alliances tested. Subtle betrayals now visible to millions. The folder shifts slightly again. Hegseth notices. Minor detail, monumental consequence. Every microdecision threads outward. Momentum cannot be halted. Power slips. Perception solidifies. Microdecisions once trivial now dictate reality. He exhales, tension coiling in chest and gut. Staff whisper, strategize, glance, hesitate. Would he act differently? Could he? Each choice carries monumental risk. Momentum punishes hesitation. Every glance, pause, gesture threading into irreversible consequence. Trump finally speaks again, control feels certain, until reality decides otherwise. The paradox reverberates. Hegseth swallows, chest tight. Momentum punishes hesitation. Microdecisions dictate outcomes far beyond immediate comprehension. Every pause, glance, microgesture now monumental. Would you act differently if you were in that room? Don't blink. Or you'll miss the unraveling.